Hello, everybody. Today, me and Riley are back to discuss Chapter 1, Part 1 of The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. I'm going to start by reading Part 1 of the chapter, and then Riley's going to go ahead and take over on the analysis. So, the Chapter 1 is called The Surge of Suffering, and Haidt explores the rise in adolescent mental health issues. He focuses on the period from 2010 to 2015. He starts with anecdotal evidence from parents who struggle with their children's use of smartphones, social media, and video games. Many parents report constant conflict over screen time, with some describing severe distress and behavioral changes in their children, such as depression and threats of self-harm. Haidt shares that stories of parents feeling powerless. One mother in Boston saw her child's personality improve when away from her phone at summer camp, only to revert to agitation and glumness upon returning to her smartphone. The author notes that while diagnosed mental illnesses are not always central to parents' concerns, there's a persuasive sense that children are missing out on essential aspects of life due to excessive online engagement. He also provides statistical evidence showing a significant increase in adolescent mental health issues starting in the 2010s. Data from the U.S. National Survey on Drug Use and Health indicates a sharp rise in major depressive episodes among teens, particularly girls, beginning around 2012. This trend is mirrored by other indicators such as emergency room visits for self-harm and suicide rates, which also show substantial increases during this period. The surge in mental health issues is concentrated in internalizing disorders such as anxiety and depression, which most of us can relate to, which involved inwardly experienced distress. This contrasts with externalizing disorders such as anger and risk-taking, which are also on the rise. However, the increase of internalizing disorders is more pronounced, especially among girls, which is interesting to me. Figure 101 is the chapter's highlights a sudden and significant upturn in major depressive episodes among U.S. teens, particularly girls, beginning around 2012. The increase for girls was much larger than for boys, with a roughly 150% rise in depression rates for both genders. The rapid adoption of smartphones and social media coincided with the decline in adolescent mental health. By 2016, the majority of teens owned smartphones, leading to increased time spent in the virtual world. In other words, as adolescents get smartphones, they begin spending more time online, which has significantly altered their social interaction and mental well-being, which is something I can relate to. Haidt addresses skepticism about the rise in reported mental health issues, noting that the increase is collaborated by non-self-reported data, such as hospital admissions for self-harm. Figure 1.4 shows a significant increase in the rate of self-harm for young adolescent girls, nearly tripling from 2010 to 2020. Similarly, Figure 1.8 indicates that suicide rates for U.S. adolescents, particularly girls, began rising around 2008, with a surge in 2012. These trends support the notation that the increase in mental health problems among adolescents is not solely due to greater willingness to report symptoms, but reflects a real increase in distress caused by challenges in their environment and technology use. Haidt concludes by emphasizing the widespread and significant impact of digital technology on adolescent mental health. He describes the great rewiring of childhood between 2010 and 2015, when smartphones and social media became ubiquitous, coinciding with rising mental health issues among adolescents. He argues that this period marked the definitive end of the play-based childhood and the beginning of the phone-based childhood, fundamentally altering the daily life, consciousness, and social relationships of teens. Now, passing on to Riley, she's going to be talking about the Part 1 analysis of Chapter 1.
All right. So, part one explores the alarming rise in adolescent mental health issues from 2010 to 2015, presenting both anecdotal and statistical evidence. Parents report conflicts over screen time and behavioral changes in their children, while statistical data shows a sharp rise in major depressive episodes, particularly among girls. Haidt identifies a significant increase in internalizing disorders like anxiety and depression linked to the rapid adoption of smartphones and social media. By integrating personal anecdotes with empirical data, Haidt provides a balanced view of the mental health crisis, making the argument both relatable and credible. Haidt underscores the impact of technology on social and psychological development, highlighting the rapid adoption of smartphones as a key factor. He states, as adolescents got smartphones, they began spending more time in the virtual world. This shift from physical to virtual interactions has significantly altered the daily lives of young people, contributing to a rise in mental health issues. And I think I see a lot, like so much of that when I go out, like to appointments or anything. It's like, and even me, I'm tempted to just pull up my phone.
Yep.
Rather than even look at the people that are in the same room as me. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna pull up my phone. I can just look at what someone else is doing.
You don't even think about it.
Yeah.
You just do it.
It's like habit. So I think reading this, it's like, wow, yes, so definitely seeing that
really aligns
right in my face. The Haidt further contrasts the different ways boys and girls experience technology's impact, noting, when I hear such stories about boys, they usually involve video games and sometimes pornography rather than social media, particularly when a boy makes the transition from being a casual gamer to a heavy gamer. This observation underscores the gender-specific nature of technology addiction, illustrating the unique challenges boys face, which often manifest as increased aggression and withdrawal from real-world activities. The increase in screen time has led to significant changes in childhood play. Traditional forms of play, which often involved outdoor, imaginative, and unsupervised activities, have been largely replaced by solitary, screen-based activities. This shift has substantial implications for child development. Haidt presents anecdotal evidence from parents who report constant conflicts over screen time and noticeable behavioral changes in their children. The lack of physical, unsupervised play has contributed to developmental issues and increased anxiety among adolescents. The virtual world, though engaging, does not offer the same benefits as real-world play in developing resilience and social skills. Haidt explores the feelings of helplessness and frustration among parents as they struggle to manage their children's technology use, addressing societal and parental roles in child development. He captures the pervasive feeling of inescapability. No matter the pattern or severity of their story, what is common among parents is the feeling that they are trapped and powerless. This quote underscores a broader societal issue. Technological advancements have outpaced traditional parenting methods, leaving many parents feeling overwhelmed and ineffective. The rapid integration of smartphones and social media into children's lives has created new challenges for parents, who must now navigate this complex digital landscape. The sense of powerlessness reflects the need for new strategies and collective action to support parents and children in this digital age. Haidt emphasizes the importance of community support and societal changes to address these challenges effectively. Haidt's approach in Chapter 1 is significant for its integration of personal anecdotes with empirical data to portray the mental health crisis among adolescents. By combining narrative and statistical evidence, Haidt illustrates the widespread and significant impact of digital technology on adolescent mental health. The combination of qualitative and quantitative data builds credence for the overall argument, making it clear that the rise in mental health issues is a pressing problem that requires attention and collective action.
Ending on that, there's actually a good discussion question, and that is, the author argues that the advent of smartphones and social media has precipitated an epidemic of mental illness among adolescents. So, what systemic changes would you propose at the level of schools, families, or policy to mitigate these effects? And how would you address possible trade offs regarding freedom, privacy, and technological advancement?
Mm.
I think something schools need to do is be a little bit more developmentally proactive.
Yeah.
And I think at first, when social media and technology first came out, they almost overforced it on us. Like, there's no pen and paper. It's you do
All on
your
the iPad.
assignments on your iPad, you turn it into a file.
Mhm.
And yes, we get, I guess, we get technology smart, but they don't
Like tech savvy.
Tech savvy, but we don't get any. There was no research on our development, I feel like, and it's caused these problems. That's why there's these research. And so I think the no phones in school is a big one. I know they're doing that a lot right now, but I know in the book he says even a phone nearby, the author says it takes away attention. Kids can't focus. They can't learn properly just knowing that their phone is maybe in their book bag.
Yeah.
So completely taking phones out, putting them maybe in your locker separate from a classroom, because realistically we can't wipe them away. But I think there needs to be structure put in.
Yeah.
That wasn't there before. And I don't think it's necessarily anyone's fault either, because we were so blind to it at first. It was something cool and innovative, and then we all see the negative effects.
Years later.
Yeah, kind of like how they explained cigarettes, how they were pushing cigarettes on people. It's a good thing. They were smoking cigarettes in hospitals, and now we have all these negative effects.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that. And then it's just like, now that we take the phones out, we have to kind of undo that developmental issue, the social deprivation and things like that.
Yeah.
So more unstructured social play. It'll help with attention, the comparison, and then honestly anger that, I mean, kids my age hold just from being on my phone.
Yeah.
It's really easy to suppress all my emotions in my phone. And then when I go out to the real world, you let all that emotion out, and now you're acting out of character.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in families, I see a lot, I think, technological boundaries, like in families, I think should all be kind of the same. I think it helps the child if you're also following boundaries with technology.
Absolutely. Like leading by example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just like he says, delaying a phone before high school, no social media before 16 is a big one, especially with the rise of anxiety and depression. And then also rebuilding that independence, having your kids go out and have that unstructured play, let them walk, let them solve conflicts by themselves. And especially one of the things I think he says is important is allow kids to have that discomfort offline, to be in a situation that's not necessarily comfortable in real life.
Right.
I think could be beneficial. And then I think something policy-wise is a lot of the time we see that these websites have a censorship or they're censoring things, but most of the time it's ineffective. You can just, no matter what age, you can just kind of go through those censorships and see what you're not supposed to see. I think there needs to be an age verification for social media, an ID, a parental control.
Even something that notifies the parents when a
Right.
child is wanting to access a certain site, or even just social media that says that it has to go through the parent before it can be approved by the kid.
Yes, very much so. And I think sometimes you can do that, but not to the extent that I feel like we should have. Another thing is the algorithm. It follows what you like. It basically follows your character. It personalizes your social media for you. And I think that's a big one, because it's a form of exploitation, and these kids aren't realizing that there's data being tracked on them. And even though they may not be posting videos about themselves or whatever the case, they're still collecting data on their character, which can be really scary if you think about it, especially as a parent perspective. I know he says, let's let our kids grow up on Earth before we send them to Mars, using that as kind of a metaphor, and I think that's his main point here. But I think a big one is platforms need to disclose how their algorithms are affecting these teenagers.
Absolutely.
Because it's very much a secret almost. And it can be scary.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
For sure. I think also another point is that when you were talking about in the schools, keeping the phones out of school so it's not a distraction.
Yeah.
But also recognizing like the phone is not part of our identity. I feel like that's where we're at, is that young people can't function without their phone.
Right.
Like they think it's a part of them. They think it has to go everywhere with them, like an arm or their head or something.
Right.
And it's like, I think there needs to be a relearning of like that this is not part of you. This is a tool. This is something that can be used, but it's not part of who you are.
Right.
And you do not need to have it in your pocket, in your hand all of the time, because then we just become dependent on this cell phone. That even for me, I've been like, whenever I think of like something I don't know and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to Google it. And I'm like, wait, what? I have books. I have things I can go and research rather than just Googling it. I can actually do the research. But anyway, just thinking of making that distinction when they're young, that this phone is not, even as when you were talking about with parents, like in the families.
Yeah.
Because parents can say all they want. Hey, get off your phone. Don't be on your phone. Don't be playing those games. But then if they're not following those same things, the kid is not going to obey.
Right.
They're like, well, mom and dad are on their phone all the time. Why can't I?
Exactly. And, us being in a Gen Z environment, we're raised with these smartphones and things like that. And if we have an addiction and we know the harms of it, and then you try to prevent your kid from that, but you're also involved in the addiction of a smartphone, you're just very right. I mean, a lot of the time, parents don't want their kids to smoke, but if they smoke, their kids are going to smoke too.
Yeah, it goes for anything.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then another thing it mentions in the question was kind of the trade-offs regarding the freedom, the privacy, and technological advancements. And I think with the freedom, the most pushback isn't this restricting kids' freedom? Isn't me putting these boundaries in place, restricting the freedom from a phone for kids? And the thing is I think true freedom comes from competence and resilience and not unlimited access.
Absolutely.
An overprotected childhood and underprotected digital access is less freedom.
Absolutely. It does not make you free at all, because I think a lot of us would say who have social media and who are kind of in the trying to get out of it, you would say that it is quite addicting and that it's not, I don't always feel free. I'm sure all these kids don't feel free when they are so trapped by this comparison game on social media.
Yeah, it's almost the opposite.
It's captivity. You're captive to this audience that is not even in front of you. It's through technology and through the internet.
And I always think back, I think I read it in chapter 1, but it said a lot of the spike was between, I think, 2012 and then 2020.
Yeah.
And that brought me back to COVID when everyone was.
Yes.
I think that's where it really manifested, that the phone was our identities, because at the time it almost was.
That was they used the excuse of like, this is the only way I can talk to my family or my friends.
Right. And now that justification doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Because
like you can go out.
We're not on a lockdown.
Right.
And so now we just have to navigate how to undo the harm that we've inflicted on ourselves. Another question is, considering Haidt's emphasis on the great rewiring of childhood, analyze how cultural norms about parenting and risk have shifted alongside technological developments. How could society redefine childhood agency and resilience in a digital era without reverting to unrealistic nostalgia for the past? I know that's kind of a mouthful, but the author, he argues that cultural norms around parenting shifted as technology advanced. This leads to parents reducing real world risk while allowing greater digital freedom. Basically, keeping real world captive and then letting the digital world be free for your kid. Children now experience less independence with that and fewer opportunities to build that resilience offline. While being exposed to constant comparison and stimulation online, redefining childhood today shouldn't mean returning to the past. Like I said, we were talking about 2020, should not return to those habits, even though they trickled to our real world. It means restoring balance by giving kids more age-appropriate autonomy in real life. I don't believe social media is something that is appropriate for minors. No. I just don't. From my own experience, I've seen things and got knowledge of things that I shouldn't even know about right now. Just simply based off of social media, things I see on social media. Video games too. I think it causes a lot of desensitization with the violence, and I see a lot of people, it's hard for them to be empathetic because they see all this terrible things online and they have to just let it kind of go over their head because they just see it online. And so now when we're reaching real life experiences, it's just a sense of numbness and detachment because they're so used to it almost. And I'm talking about myself as well. I'm definitely affected in this culture as I grew up in it. But this approach that I just talked about, giving kids more age-appropriate autonomy in real life and giving them stronger protections in digital spaces, it supports resilience and agency without rejecting modern technology, because modern technology is something we're not going to reverse technology realistically. But we can put things in place to prevent some of the harms that technology can inflict on us. Would you have anything to add to that, or do you want to go off to question 3?
I think what you said is so valid, because I think some people, myself included, when I read about all this and I'm learning about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to throw all my technology away. I don't want any part of it. But I can't just stick my head in the sand and ignore what's going on, because this is reality. We're talking about living in reality. So it's like, it's important that I recognize this stuff and we teach people it's okay that it's here. We just need to learn how to deal with it and how to deal with it in a healthy way. It's just like anything new. It's like you have to learn about it. You need to learn the pros and cons of it and then choose whether or not this is something you're going to include in your life. And at this point in the world, it seems like that's not happening. And it's just like automatically, oh, you get a phone, you get these apps, you get this access. There's no like healthy decision making. There's no, okay, how is this going to negatively affect me? How is this going to positively affect me? There's none of that, I feel like. No. And it's just given. It is. It's an expectation that you're going to have that. And I think it's really important to go back to just the basics of learning, okay, this is something new. How am I going to deal with it?
Exactly.
And I think he also talked about like the helicopter parenting, where it's like, oh, I'm so scared my kids, like I can't let my kids go out and play because they're going to get kidnapped or they're going to whatever, they're going to run away or something. So I think that's kind of been part of the parenting change in this technology, is that everyone, so they've seen what can happen, so they think it's going to happen to them. So I think it's important that that's an opportunity for parents to talk with their kids and teach them how to, be out in public safely, to be aware of their surroundings. Because I feel like when we have our phones, we're constantly down in our phones, we're not aware of all of what's happening around us or who's around us or the environment. So I think it's a good opportunity for parents to say, hey, these are things that can happen. And this is how you can protect yourself.
For sure.
This is how you can go hang out with your friends, have that physical contact and be with your friends, but be safe and be aware of your surroundings, things like that.
Just, especially with the social media. And, if you're a parent and you're allowing your kid on social media, understanding the risks, but also teaching your kids the risks as well.
Yes.
Because a lot of the time, especially at first, nobody thought about it. There was these things coming up and they tried to patch them, but realistically, there's billions of people on social media that can say and do whatever. And other people are inflicted by that. And I think you're right. It needs to be more talked about how things can and can't happen.
Yeah.
Just like how things can and can happen in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Just setting precaution there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going off to question 3, the book critiques the impact of digital technology on moral and civic development in young people. Given the ethical challenge of preserving democratic values and fostering healthy public discourse, what multidisciplinary strategies could be implemented to support adolescents in building moral reasoning skills in an online world? Which is kind of interesting because we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
But the author, he argues that the digital technology weakens our moral and civic development by reducing the face-to-face interaction. And I think I was kind of talking about the lack of empathy. I think that's where that goes in, where we don't have much moral or civic development because we're not having the face-to-face interaction. We don't have to. And so those reactions, I'm not sure how it works, but somehow it suppresses our reactions when we're doing it online.
I think you can just push it away and just avoid it and be distracted by something else.
Right. I think that's what it is as well. You don't have to deal with it.
Exactly.
So you don't.
Yeah. You just bury it.
Mm-hmm.
Which we all know doesn't work.
No, it makes it worse.
It does.
And you learn that later
Yes.
when it comes and bites you in the butt. But it encourages the outrages of any emotion, really, because like you said, we are most of the time avoiding and going into our phones. And in the real world, we have all these big emotions that we haven't worked through. And like the anxiety a lot of the time is what rises from that because you don't really know what to do because you've been hiding in your phone for so long. And I've definitely been there, and it's hard to get yourself out, but it's easier if you never get yourself in.
That's true.
Yeah. But it rewards impulsive behavior as well. And to support the adolescents in building a more moral reasoning, in an online world, society needs a multidisciplinary approach that combines, I think, education, more family guidance from our parents and our guardians, technological design, and community involvement. I think a lot of the time social media, it's targeted to isolate you and keep you withdrawed and keep you almost literally in a false sense of reality. You open TikTok and you read the most insane thing. In real life, nobody would ever say that to you.
Right.
Because it's such a false sense of reality.
Yeah.
And it's so damaging to the brain, especially an undeveloped one.
Yes, absolutely.
But teaching digital ethics, promoting real-world civic engagement, and redesigning online spaces to reward reflection rather than an outrage can help young people develop the empathy that we lack, the responsibility that we lack, and respect for the democratic values without disconnecting them from, once again, modern technology that's not going to go away. Just more, it's hard to navigate as a parent, especially because I'm not one.
Yeah.
And I'm not in a parent's shoes, but it is really emphasized by the author, I believe, to make parents aware and to instill these morals into your kids, because a lot of the time it is lost and kind of like the wormhole meaning like there's technology, the wormhole, and then the real world.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's difficult to navigate as a parent, but it is really important for them to understand the importance of honestly not giving social media until I think their child's more developed. Like they said, 16 is a good age, but like I said, minors, it's kind of iffy because of the development of your brain. But yeah, I think the engagement in real world morals, having a sense of community, being a part of a club, going out and just doing something you don't need to do, but it's more of like a community sense of thing, helps a lot.
Yeah, getting yourself involved with people. And it's not just people in your immediate family, but people, like you said, in the community.
Yeah.
Learning, doing charity, doing any kind of like nonprofit work, doing something that like stimulates your brain, that gets you involved in real life things where you don't open TikTok and see this crazy thing. You're actually involved, hands-on. I think is a big thing, especially with parents being more hands-on with their kids. Because when they have when they're distracted with the cell phones, they're not spending time with their children or having these conversations. So I think it's good that parents are more hands-on with their kids in daily activities.
I agree. We're gonna.
I've been listening to this, and you guys are doing wonderful in their discussion. My question to both of you is, now we're into the second week of this. What changes have you all made in relationship to this?
Something that I've done, it's not much, it's very small, but I've been watching how much I've been on social media. I can't say that's something I've been really active on doing, but I've been trying to be in touch with the real world more. Going out and talking to people is something I want to do more than sitting on my phone.
Yeah.
Which is something I had to relearn because it was scary. I had the major anxiety where I was scared to go out and talk to new people. But once you go and do that and you get a sense of identity and you're secure with that, it's a lot easier going out into the real world and talking to people, and you realize how much more beneficial it is than sitting on your phone. Going out and talking to somebody makes me feel good about myself, just talking to somebody. And it's not something I realized until I did it.
Yeah.
But it's something I'm doing now and I'm still working on doing.
Well, good for you.
Thank you. Yay.
It's a small step, but it's a good step because you got to start with the small ones.
Right.
And something I've been doing, also a very small step, because it takes a lot to say, okay, I'm not going to be on my phone.
Yeah.
But something I've been doing is I love mornings. I love like waking up and starting my morning. And I just have always found myself, my phone's the first thing I go to. Checking Facebook, checking my messages, checking my email, like all that stuff as soon as I wake up. And so I've really tried, what I've been doing is shutting my phone down completely at night to where I can't just turn it on in the morning. I have to hold the button and wait for it to start and all that.
Yeah.
So I've been turning it off at night. That way when I wake up, I know, okay, my phone is not on right now. I'm going to get up. I'm going to make my bed. I'm going to go get some breakfast. I'm going to read my Bible. And then after I've done all that and done everything that needs to be done early in the morning, then I turn my phone on and I check my email and do all that stuff.
Like a reward almost.
Almost. But I don't want it to be like a reward because I don't want my phone to be my reward.
Right. I get it.
It is okay, I'm going to do all these steps before I turn my phone on. Because if it's already off at night, it's like a barrier in the morning to me wanting to get on. It's like it deters me from getting on it immediately because I know I'm going to have to wait for it.
Yep.
It's like, okay, it's already off. I'm going to go do something else.
And your brain's attention span on a phone, it's like literally like 2 seconds.
Right.
And so once you get over that, okay, I'm just not going to get on your phone, it's a lot easier getting your day started.
Yes.
I've realized.
It makes me feel so much better and like more energized. And I don't just sit around, oh, I got to go to work soon. I got to do this. It's like, okay, getting up. I don't even feel that pressure. And I think after a while, it'll get a lot better where I won't have to keep it shut down completely at night because I'll have more self-control. So I'm just trying to teach myself doing like self-discipline and self-control.
You're retraining your dopamine.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
Yes. That is all the discussion questions we're going to be going over today. I believe on Monday of next week, we're going to be going over chapter 2 of The Anxious Generation. Me and Riley will have more discussion questions to go over, and we'll kind of discuss what we read in there. I hope everyone took something from today, learned something, and I will see you next week. Thank you.